Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I am going over my goals for 2026. Y'all may recall my video about my mid-year 2025 goals and how this year has honestly been a colossal failure and just disastrous through no fault of my own. To begin with, at the beginning of 2025, I was unfortunately laid off from my job. I was a part of the mass layoffs at the beginning of the year following the election, and that really sucked. Not gonna lie. And so I kind of spent the year figuring that out. I've been working really hard on beefing up all of my freelance work as well as applying for another corporate job. Unfortunately, with the way things are going, I don't think I'm going to get another corporate job anytime soon, just because of all of the everything. All of the everything, including the fact that 1.2 million jobs were not just lost, but eliminated. To give y'all context, my position at my old job was eliminated. I wasn't just laid off, the position was eliminated, and it was a pretty, important position. I was a social media manager, so with all these job eliminations, and then also with the fact that it's been proven that 30% of job ads for apply for this job are not real. They're called ghost job ads, meaning that they are a combination of scammers, of not real ads that companies put up so that they can prove to their shareholders that their company is growing. It's also a ploy to show that their company is growing in order to get funding, just all that kind of loophole crap. And then also, unfortunately, it's a tactic that a lot of companies use in order to show that, they're hiring and all that in order to keep the peace with their employees, and as well as the third option, which is unfortunately where it's, yes, the job is available and the job is real, but they legally have to post it publicly, but they're actually going to give the job to somebody internally, and they already know that. So 30% of job ads that I apply to are indeed a waste of my time. And in 2025, I actually did unfortunately fall prey to one of these job ads that was a scam. A straight up scam to try to steal my bank information, and thankfully I saw that it was a scam before it was too late, but it was really elaborate and it was really good, y'all. It was really scary how good it was. I had a fake job interview and everything before they showed their true colors of, hey, guess what, we're a scam. Yeah, it was a waste of my time and it was infuriating. Given all that, and given the fact that the reports with surveys, they surveyed a bunch of CEOs of companies, and they've said that the vast majority of them either are not going to be hiring any new employees for 2026, or they're actually going to have more layoffs. So there are more layoffs coming. That's not great. I see the writing on the wall. The likelihood of me getting another corporate job is slim to none. I'm still going to apply for jobs in 2026. I'm still going to have one of my goals, putting this in quotations with, a heavy dose of realism. I would very much like to get another salary corporate job so that I can afford to get my life back together. I would love that very much, but I don't expect it to happen. That being said, I'm still going to apply for jobs, still going to put my best foot forward and try my best, but I'm not going to hold my breath. That's goal number one for 2026 with, quotations and an asterisk based on what happened this year, 2025. Those are my expectations for that soft goal going into 2026. A harder goal, as in firmer, not more difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but much firmer goal going into 2026 is I am going to be focusing heavily on my freelance work. So 2025 was very much building up my freelance work back up, because that is the big lesson that I learned with this particular layoff, because this isn't my first rodeo. This is the third time that I have been laid off, unfortunately, and every time I've learned new lessons with being laid off. This is also the fourth time that my finances have been destroyed, the 3 times being laid off, and then the fourth being the pandemic. And I've learned from all those experiences, such as with the pandemic. I thought that I was sitting pretty in 2019. I thought that I had figured it out. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, I had diversified all of my freelance work. Pandemic came around and I realized that the vast majority of my freelance work was in-person work. And so I did a total 180 on that and made sure that the vast majority of my freelance work was online so that I didn't have to deal with something like that again, especially with the vastly global and digital world that we're living in. Online work is going to be much easier to do and manage than trying to do all the in-person work that I was doing prior to that. The lesson that I learned with this particular layoff was that I let people talk me into quitting a bunch of my freelance work, which, granted, I do understand it came from a place of caring. It did. People worried about my sanity and my health because I was taking on so much work, y'all. Like, so much. Like, I need y'all to understand. I had my corporate, salary full-time job, and it wasn't even 40 hours a week. It was more like I was working 60 hours a week on average, if not 80 hours a week sometimes. I was working long hours, y'all. I had meetings sometimes starting at 6:30 in the morning, and I would work all the way until 6, 7 o'clock at night. It was crazy. It was a lot. And on top of that, I was also doing all of my freelance stuff, and people were like, something's got to give. You got to give up some of the freelance stuff that you do. It's just too much. You're going to just absolutely drive yourself crazy and burn out. And so I did. So I let some of my freelance stuff kind of fall to the wayside because the job was obviously just buku bucks. It was amazing. So I was like, okay. Never again. Never again, y'all. I am never trusting that ever again. I don't care how good the job is. I don't care how good the pay is. I don't care how long the hours are. Never again. I am never quitting my freelance work ever again. I will just suffer. It'll be fine. Because the amount of suffering I've done this year is far worse than the suffering that I would have done had I just kept doing all that stuff. I really, really regret not keeping up with that stuff, but because that's the thing, is a lot of those freelance things that I let fall by the wayside while I had my corporate job, I now have to rebuild all that stuff because I let it fall by the wayside. So one of them was my Twitch channel. I stopped live streaming. Now I have to start all over and build all of that viewership up again, because when you stop live streaming, people stop watching. And even though, I still retained a lot of my followers and stuff, I did not retain a lot of their viewership. So I've had to build that trust back up again. It's been a rough uphill battle, especially because in the past couple years, the algorithms have just gotten worse and worse. So it's even harder than ever to build a brand than it was even a couple years ago, which that is one of the goals that I did meet for 2025, is that I got back into live streaming, made a regular schedule again. I feel like, okay, it's just like riding a bike and now we're just zooming along on our bike. It ain't no thing. We're doing the live streaming, we got the schedule, we know what we're doing, and viewership is finally starting to take off again. So that's a really big help. And the fact that as of today, in 2025, I'm finally at a point where the payout, the minimum payout that you need in order to get paid out each month, I've met that. So that now going forward, I'll at least get the minimum payout each month, that I don't have to build that up over the course of multiple months in order to get the payout. Obviously, that's not going to fix my income situation, but it's a start. So at least we have that going for us. My goal going into 2026 with Twitch is that I want to continue building up my viewership, just continue going along with my scheduled content, with just all of that, and I really want to build it up to double the amount for the monthly payout. That is my goal, and I know that doesn't sound like very much, but I'm trying to be as reasonable as possible, and if I make more than that, then hooray. But I'm trying to look at things in the long term, as well as just look at things from a realistic point of view and how long it takes in order to build these kind of things up, especially with the fact that, as I mentioned, all these jobs being lost, all these people who are now unemployed, who don't have an income. I don't expect there to be just absolutely hordes of people who can, necessarily afford to part with their money in order to support me on Twitch. So I know that there's going to be less money to go around as well, which is why my goal for 2026 is so low, but I really am hoping to surpass that. So we'll see where we go with that. In the same vein as the Twitch live streaming content, I also have this YouTube channel, and I also have my KHR Arts Gaming YouTube channel, which is where I house all of the videos from my past live streams, any other gaming type of stuff that I do. I also house my art stuff there, which that's another goal I'm going to talk about, is my art goals for this year, but I also house my art videos on that YouTube channel. It's just been a hot minute since I've sat down and actually drawn some stuff outside of art commissions. So that is also both of those YouTube channels. I've been working diligently for the past few years trying to get them monetized, and again, with the algorithms just getting worse and worse, it's just been getting exponentially more difficult for me to finally reach that goalpost. But I am now like this close, y'all, to having my KHR Arts YouTube channel monetized, my gaming channel. So my goal for 2026 is for the KHR Arts YouTube channel to be monetized. That would be a super big help, because honestly, the views are there. That's not the problem. The problem is I don't have enough subscribers on there, and what's frustrating is I can see it says in the stats that 70% of my viewers don't subscribe. That's a lot, y'all. And not only that, the fact that the majority of my viewers are repeat viewers. So these are people who like my videos and like regularly watch them and just for whatever reason don't subscribe. So please subscribe to my videos. It really does make a difference. It really, really does. Please help. Please help me meet this goal for next year. It would be amazing and help me so much. So please. Also with this channel too, unfortunately I'm still a world away from being monetized on this channel, my Alice the Author channel. A big part of that is because this is a niche audience, and I recognize that, but getting this channel monetized would also be a super big help. So hey, maybe let's see if we can make that happen for the new year too. That would be amazing if y'all could help me make that happen. So, you know, share me with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. It really does make a difference. Even if you stop watching my videos or you don't watch them regularly, whatever, that subscribe does a lot of heavy lifting. So please do help me out and click that subscribe button, even if you do nothing else. And obviously, because I need more things to do, me and my partner, Neil Litherland, the literary mercenary, are also going to be debuting a third YouTube channel in 2026. So it'll be my third YouTube channel, and it will be yet another of the many YouTube channels that he's a contributor on. We're going to be debuting that together, and I can't wait for y'all to see that project. We've been hard at work on it behind the scenes. We're getting so close to being able to launch it, and we're having so much fun with it, y'all. It's so much fun. I really hope that y'all enjoy this YouTube channel, because it really is just the work of love and shenanigans. So I really hope y'all enjoy it. So that's another goal for 2026, is we are going to be debuting a YouTube channel together, and we are hoping for it to have a really successful takeoff. So those are all the goals that are related to the online sphere, specifically a lot of the video content sphere. And honestly, a big chunk of the stuff that is either making money for me right now, or is hopefully going to be making money for me in the near future. That goes to my second group of goals, which is money. Because the likelihood of me getting another corporate job is low, so that means I have to get an income from somewhere. And a big part of that is all of that freelance work that I have built up over the course of 2025. I want to continue to grow that going into 2026, and my goal for 2026 is for that freelance work to become my main income again. So I have been down this road in the past, as I said. With those times of being laid off, I have been able to, within a certain level of parameters, make that be my main income, my living. It is hard, okay? It is hard. And it is more difficult than ever to make a living doing freelance work, especially, again, when people have less disposable income and everything is more expensive, just there's less money to go around. So it's even harder than ever to convince people to part with their money in order to pay for things that I offer. And the main thing that I am going to be offering, that I have always fallen back on with my freelance work, is providing freelance social media management for clients. In addition to the corporations that I have done social media management work for in the corporate capacity, I have also done freelance capacity for small local businesses, restaurants, artists, other authors, etc. As I always tell people, I don't need to be an expert in your field in order to successfully market you. I just need to learn how marketing in that field works. And when I honestly say, there isn't really a whole lot of difference when it comes to core marketing as much as just understanding the nuance of each individual culture and market. And that's not really very hard to learn. And I usually put that onus on the client to kind of give me the rundown of how their little niche works. And once I know that, the marketing can take care of itself. So that is a big thing that I'm offering in 2026 going forward, is I am going to be acquiring new freelance social media clients so that I can fill out that roster as I have in the past. I've had a lot of success with that, and the big caveat with that I say to all of my clients is, number one, you're not going to go viral. And by this, what I mean is that I have so many people come to me and they're like, well, can you guarantee that I'll go viral? And I'm like, no one can guarantee that anything will go viral. That's literally not how going viral works. Going viral is a surprise. It's a thing that just kind of takes off and happens. It's lightning in a bottle. It's not a thing that you can plan for. It just happens. So no, but I can help you to build a sustainable brand that is going to continue to have growth, and that you're going to be able to reach your audience, and you're going to be able to successfully market your products or your services or whatever have you to your audience. What I've also learned in the past is that I will no longer be taking on a very specific kind of client work where this has specifically been authors where they want to hire me for only 1 month and it's specifically for a book release. The problem is that they have done zero work on any sort of social media or marketing or advertising or anything. They think that they can just market and build social media all at the same time, all in 1 month, in the month that their book is being released, and that will somehow magically take off and they will get all these book sales. I can tell you from experience that does not work. That does not work. You will not get the sales you want. No amount of expertise in the world can help you get the sales you want with that kind of approach. Unfortunately, it's something you need to plan ahead for. You need to have already built your social media. You need to have already started building your network and your audience in order for you to then have a month campaign for your book release. You have to have all that stuff already in place before you have a big campaign for your book release. You can't do it all at once and expect people to care. And so that is a big caveat that I've learned that I'm going to be using moving forward, is that if somebody wants to hire me for a single month for a book release, I'm going to require them in the contract that they've already built their social media platforms and they already have an audience, because otherwise then they just get mad at me and then nobody's happy. Conversely, I have helped many people build up their brands from scratch. That is not a problem at all, and it's actually a really fun part of the process. Helping a brand build from ground zero is such a fun, special thing to be a part of. It's just you don't do it while trying to get the big brouhaha release at the same time. You don't do these things at the same time. You do the big build up first, leading up to a big release. You gotta have time in between for the building to happen. So I do love helping with established brands. I love helping with building from the ground up and everything in between. I love helping with all that stuff, but I also am hard hitting with being realistic and making people understand that your goals with your social media have to be realistic and reflect what's going on in the world, what's going on in your community, and then also what effort you've put thus far into your brand and what effort you are going to continue to put in your brand going forward. That all those factors are going to have a big impact on how big of an impact I can have on that brand. So that is a big thing that I'm going to be doing moving forward. I do have a couple of clients right now that have been my tried and trues that have stuck with me for years. They're fantastic. Just building on that to be able to build more of that regular income for myself. The next freelance work that I have been working on is my art, which is very exciting because, like I said, I've kind of been neglecting my art for the past few years. I feel really bad about that. I haven't really had a big to-do with my art since publishing my book Geisha Hands that I fully illustrated myself. So getting back into doing art commissions has been really fun. I love helping people to bring their visions to light, to be able to create things for them, whether it's character design or it's designing a book cover or it's just providing artwork for funsies or it's providing logo design, whatever have you. I love being able to help with that process, so I am going to be moving forward with doing more art commissions going into 2026, as well as I do also plan on working on my own personal artwork, as I am going to be, that's another one of my goals, is my next novel, which I am also going to be fully illustrating as well. So doing the illustrations for that will also be a big part of my art goals. The next part of the freelance work that I am going to be heavily moving into in 2026 is my work as a beta reader and an editor. So I do have a lot of experience with this. I never stopped doing it, but I didn't advertise it as heavily as I'm going to be doing in 2026. I do have a handful of authors that I do regularly work for with doing edits for their manuscripts, with doing beta reading for their manuscripts, things like that. I really want to continue to grow that, get new clients, get more regular clients, all that kind of stuff, because as an author myself, I can give that unique perspective as an author reading through this and also knowing how things work with publishers and with readers and things like that, so that I can give them the best professional perspective of making sure that their manuscript is going to be ready for either publication if they're a self-published author, or for submission to a publication if they are a traditionally published author. So I am going to be moving forward with really hard hitting on getting more editing clients moving forward. I also do this for tabletop gaming guides. I have experience with helping to beta read and edit tabletop gaming guides, as well as I write them myself. Neil, my partner, has had a big hand in helping train me on how to write and edit these kind of documents. And moving forward, I'm also going to be hard hitting a lot more in that space as well. So that is the whole section for my freelance goals going into 2026. Just really prioritizing that work because honestly, at the end of the day, priority number one is getting my bills paid. And right now, my best chance of making that happen is my freelance work. The next round of goals that I have is my writing goals. And these are my very big, lofty goals, which I know it's going to be putting a lot of pressure on myself, especially after how much I feel that I failed 2025 in this arena, and I am just determined and I am doubling down for 2026. So to begin with, in 2025, I did finish my first audiobook for my first novel, Love of the Sea. Really excited that I was able to complete that goal. Yay me. So where are we at with that? Unfortunately, I didn't meet my goal of having that audiobook published in 2025, but that is because I'm currently waiting on the cover art from my friend who is both an author and artist, Rhiannon. She is the same artist that designed the cover art for Succumb to Darkness. She will be designing the refresh cover art for Love of the Sea so that we can have a big refresh re-release of Love of the Sea to promote the audiobook, and that cover will also be on the physical book and the ebook and all that good stuff. So I'm really, really excited for this new cover and for this big audiobook release, as this will be my first audiobook. A big part of why this took so long is I actually did all of the recording myself, I did all the voices myself, and then I did all the sound editing myself, and I'm going to have to put everything together myself because my audiobook is actually going to be the first audiobook that my traditional publisher decides to go through with through the publishing company. So she's kind of having me be the guinea pig for her so that we can learn together effectively. And this will be really good for me going forward, learning how to do this, because my next goal is to finish the audiobook for my novella Pandora. I talked about this in my other videos, in that Pandora is meant to be an easy win for me after the big project of doing the audiobook for Love of the Sea. Pandora is an easy win in that Pandora is only 12 chapters long, and the chapters are significantly shorter than a traditional novel. Love of the Sea is 36 chapters long. So having such a shorter book to do the audiobook for means that it'll take less time and less effort and all of that. I'm still going to put in the same effort and quality. It's just not going to be as big of a project. So all of the recordings for Pandora are finished. I did all the voices myself, all the everything. I am about halfway done with editing these recordings. I was making really good progress with it in late 2025, and unfortunately I had to put that project on the back burner just because I had so many things back to back to back in the last quarter of 2025. Because basically all in a row, I had my New Orleans romance author event, and then I had the Bookworm Ball, and then I had the Salem romance author event, and then we had the Enchanted Kingdom Ball. All of that on top of all the other projects that I was trying to complete, and all the freelance work that I was doing, and then all the holidays too. So we had Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. We just finished Christmas, and we're literally one day away. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve, so something had to give. And so I put Pandora on the back burner, and I am looking to finish that in the first quarter of 2026. Now, mind you, finish it, not necessarily publish it in the first quarter of 2026, because I still have a lot of plates up in the air that I need to keep spinning, so we'll see how long it takes me to publish it, but I definitely want to finish all the sound edits in the first quarter. I'd also very much like to finish publishing it in the first quarter, but we'll see what happens. In that same vein, it is my goal to ultimately record and publish audiobooks for all of my novels, so all of my romance novels, for Geisha Hands, for Succumb to Darkness, for all of them. But all of that takes a lot of time and effort, and it is just me, myself, and I, so it takes time. But the goal is that after Pandora is done, I'm going to begin on doing the recordings for my next novel, Tearing Down the Wall. That is my first romance novel, my second novel that was published, and so that is going to be a full-sized book, just like Love of the Sea was, so it'll be a larger project, but I very much would love to at least get all of the recordings done for 2026. I don't expect to get all of the recordings and all the sound edits done for 2026 because it took 2 separate years for me to do all the recordings and then all the sound edits for Love of the Sea, and I think that Tearing Down the Wall is probably going to take about the same amount of time. Now, mind you, all of these individual projects, I could get them done way faster if I just did nothing else and just did singular project and that was all I worried about. I could absolutely do all of this a lot faster. Unfortunately, I can't do that. So everything ends up just taking me a little bit longer. So if you ever feel frustrated with why is this particular project taking you so long, please keep in mind I'm doing about like 15 things all at the same time. It's not even hyperbole. I'm literally doing like 15 things behind the scenes all at the same time. You just probably are only seeing 5 of the things. I'm doing my best. So those are the audiobooks that I definitely want to see come to fruition for 2026. The plan is for all of them to eventually be out there, published for y'all to enjoy, because I know how important audiobooks are to such a big part of the reading community, and I really want to provide that for y'all. It's just going to take me some time because I'm doing it all by myself, and I'm doing it all 100% myself. There is no artificial stuff, there is no AI or anything like that. I'm doing everything myself, which means it takes that much longer because I'm doing it solo. In the writing capacity, this is going to be the big elephant in the room, just the big projects that are going to take up the most space, the most time, the most effort. are my novels. So, Be Mine, we completed the manuscript in 2025. Yay for that. That was something that we completed. Oh my god, I am so proud of that, y'all, because that definitely got to the point where that was one of those projects where I'm just like, oh my god, I want this to go away. If you know, you know. So that's done. The reason why it isn't published yet is because after Rhiannon completes the cover refresh for Love of the Sea, she's then going to do the cover art for Be Mine. And because she's only one person, it's going to take time. And part of the reason why I commissioned her is because of her art style. I really, really love her art style. I feel it's going to be a fit for these two books. And her art style takes a long time because she is literally painting. So even though it's done digitally, she's literally painting, like oil painting technique painting. So that takes a while. So please be patient. Her work is so beautiful, as you saw from Succumb to Darkness. It's going to be worth the wait. I promise. It's going to be so, so beautiful. I'm so, so excited. I have so much faith in her and her work. It's going to be amazing. It's just going to take a hot minute because I've given her two really big commissions that it's basically, I need you to do this. And then as soon as you're done with that, I need you to do this. And she also has a full-time job and she does other stuff and has her own life being a person. So it's going to take time. So Be Mine right now is technically on hold because we're waiting on the cover art. And then once the cover art is done, I will then hand everything off to the layout artist, which is the person who takes everything and then makes it into a book. All the formatting and all that fun stuff, makes it into a book, and then I will finally be able to publish it. All of that will take time. But in the meantime, because I am not the kind of person to just sit and wait for something to be done. Oh no, we don't have time for that. I'm sorry, we are way too busy for sitting around and doing nothing, waiting for stuff to be done. No, we don't do that here. While we're waiting on that stuff to be done, we got other stuff to work on, such as my next novel. Very excited for this novel, y'all. It is book 1 of my fantasy series. It is finally happening. So, for those of y'all that don't know, I wrote a 13-book fantasy series over the course of my life. Literally my life. Book 1, I started writing when I was like 12 years old. Book 13 was finished when I was in college. So now all of the books are written. I have the entire storyline. I know from literally beginning to end, not just beginning to end for the book, but for the whole series. Everything is done. I know the whole story, everything that's going to happen. But the manuscripts are old. Like, some of them are really, really, really old, y'all. I am now 37 years old. I'm going to be 38 years old next year. Like, manuscripts that I started when I was like 12 and finished when I was like, I don't know, like 14 or 15 or so. That's literally like 2 decades ago. That ain't gonna fly. Like, I was laughing, y'all. I was laughing so hard looking at my original manuscript for book 1. And, like, for how old I was, like, it's really impressive. It's really good. But for my 37-year-old standards, I'm just like, oh, this is a train wreck. This is a train wreck. It's also, like, really, really short. It's only, like, 35 pages or so. I'm like, we need to put a 0 on the end of there. So we got a lot of work to do. But the hard part is knowing what's happening in the story. We already know what's happening in the story. There's no problem with the story. It's just the execution of the story that needs a lot of TLC. So that is what I'm going to be spending 2026 doing, is taking the manuscript of book 1 and making it up to today's standards. So it's going to be a full rewrite, full gut, but the bones are good. The bones are staying. The bones are good, y'all. We just got to really update this house because she be looking wonky. But it's okay, we're gonna fix her and make her beautiful. And after I finish the manuscript, I am going to be fully illustrating it. And yes, I am going to fully illustrate all 13 books. Yes, I am. At Geisha Pan's level of illustration. Yes. And for those of y'all that don't know, my illustrations take on average 30 hours a piece to complete. Geisha Hands was 47 illustrations. I expect each book to be somewhere in that ballpark. That times 30 hours. That's a lot. It's a lot. But I'm going to do it. I do not expect the manuscript and all those illustrations to be done in a year. No, that's physically impossible. It took me 5 years to complete Geisha Hands. It took me a whole separate, like, year and a half to do all of the illustrations for Geisha Hands. I expect that it's going to take me a year to do the manuscript, and then it's going to take me another year to do the illustrations for book 1. So we're going to do our best to just do as much as we can. But I am going to be doing some of the illustrations in tandem with working on the manuscript because I'm just so excited, y'all. I am just so excited to be working on it, and with doing art commissions, I'm just like, I want to draw again. I love drawing. I can't wait to get back into this. So I am going to be kind of doing that in tandem. The sad thing is, unfortunately, I can't share any of these illustrations with y'all just yet, and I can't share the story with y'all just yet, because as I've talked about in my 2025 goals video, this is an NDA project. I cannot talk about this until I secure the copyright for the first manuscript, because I have had in the past a work stolen. This is my crown jewel project, y'all. This is my crown jewel project. This is my baby. I am very sensitive to what could go wrong. And because of the subject matter, and y'all, once I reveal what it's about, I think y'all will understand why I'm so protective of it. But especially because of the subject matter, I just really want to make sure that I cross my T's and dot my I's and get that copyright before I publicly reveal this story with y'all. So once I get that copyright with the finished manuscript, I'll be able to start sharing stuff publicly to get all of your hype going and get y'all excited for the book release. So just please trust me. Please trust me with this, that it is going to be an amazing story, y'all. And I am so on edge to be able to share it with y'all, but we just have to wait a smidgen bit longer. It will be worth it, I promise. Another goal that I'm going to be doing with writing also ties into my freelance work, is that I am going to be writing for Azukiel Games again. I do have some tabletop gaming guides that I have written for Azukiel Games in the past. I really enjoy doing it. It's so much fun. Neil also writes for Azukiel Games. In fact, that is the bulk of his work, is writing these gaming guides for Azukiel Games. And so I have him in my corner to give me a lot of help and advice and guidance on all of this. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's a different creative outlet I can use, as well as money. I need income. So I'm also going to be working on that as well, with writing these tabletop gaming guides again. So be sure to watch my social media for progress on those and for the big releases of them. I already have a few out there, such as my 100 beastly birds, my 100 dangerous plants, potion recipes. I've got so many cool things out there, and I can't wait to create more things for your games. And the big thing about the things that I write is they are game agnostic. So you can play them with literally anything. Dungeons and Dragons, World of Darkness, whether vampire or werewolf. You can play them with Pathfinder. You can play with them with Shadowrun. It does not matter. Whatever you feel is applicable to your world, it will work. I make it so that everything can mesh smoothly with any game system, as well as I've had some people tell me that they've used them for inspiration for art, for inspiration for stories, whatever you want to use them for. They are a lot of fun, y'all. So I am going to be doing that going forward into 2026, and I already have a list that I am going to be working on, so stay tuned for that. The final writing goal that I have, and this one is more of, I always have a secondary writing thing that I work on because I have ADHD. I need something else that when I'm starting to feel bored with a project, I need a secondary thing that I can kind of play with to get my juices flowing again. And so for this, that secondary project is going to be my next romance novel, Clover Companion. This is another one that's been just kind of hanging out in limbo, unfortunately, and it is one that I really want to finish. I think the story is going to be really beautiful. It's essentially a story about a woman who has had just really bad luck with relationships, and she lives in a world where they have artificial companions. So they're like android robot kind of things, and their entire purpose is to be a companion, like a partner, and it can be as romantic or sexual or platonic as you want it to be. And so she finally decides, you know what, I'm just having such a bad time trying to find a partner, I'm going to get a companion. And they're called Clover Companions. The company is called Clover. And She ends up falling in love with her companion. She treats it as a real relationship. And then there's going to be conflict that ensues. And I don't really want to spoil it for y'all yet, especially because it is very much in the beginning stages of being written. But that's pretty much the gist of what's going to be happening with that novel. I'm really excited to play with that this year. I have no plan to, finish it for this year. I would very much like to finish it this year, but finishing 2 manuscripts on top of everything else is a big ask. But if I do it, I do it. So we'll see what happens with that. So that is the larger art and writing section of goals that I have. I'm really excited to work on those goals. I'm really excited to have y'all along on the journey with me for these goals. The final goal that I have for 2026 is my mental health goal. And I will admit my mental health has been really bad for 2025 for obvious reasons. But my goal for that is that I want to mentally be in a better place. However, unfortunately, that better place is largely dependent on me being able to secure income. And not just secure income, but to feel secure in that income. That mental health goal is largely dependent on my other goals for 2026. So I am going to do my best to be able to meet those goals so that I can meet my mental wellness goals. So we'll see how everything goes. Regardless, I am going to do my best to make sure that my mental health does not spiral out of control as it did during the pandemic. I went to some very dark places, and I don't ever want to be in that position ever again. Definitely going to be putting some emphasis on my mental health going forward for 2026. But again, unfortunately, a lot of that is also dependent on me being able to have secure income so that I have less to worry about. Everything's kind of interconnected and dependent and all that jazz, which is why everybody's kind of like, why do you do so much stuff? And I'm like, well, the stuff is all kind of related and together, and they all kind of feed off each other. So it's fine. I know that some of y'all might be asking, what about your, influencer goals, your stuff with Instagram, unboxings and stuff like that? I've really put that on the wayside because unfortunately that did not pan out the way that I was hoping. Yes, I'm still monetized on Instagram, but I'm not getting paid anymore because the algorithm has just absolutely crushed my account, as well as I'm shadow banned, which is a thing that happened also right after the election. Oh, gee, I wonder why. But yeah, so it's not going, unfortunately, that's not going to go anywhere, so I'm not going to put energy toward it. Any unboxings that I happen to do, I have a couple of things lined up in the works that are probably going to result in unboxings, but that's more so just going to be for those individual situations, but they're going to be advertising other things that are more related and more important to the goals that I'm working on, and not so much my Instagram and my influencer stuff. That's kind of what's going on with that, and that's also a big part of just reorganizing all my freelance stuff going into 2026, is especially dealing with the world that we're living in with the algorithm kind of throttling and crushing everything, with a lot of stuff getting shadow banned, and then of course with AI just making everything worse. So it's just reorganizing, taking reality for what it is, and just moving forward with the best strategy that I can, and then of course reevaluating and changing things as things take shape going forward. So those are my goals for 2026. I know it's quite a list. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. I know everyone always tells me you try to do too many things, too hard on yourself, you have too many goals. This is just who I am. This is just who I am. And I feel like it's, if I start out with too many goals, if things happen that make those goals unable to be fulfilled for whatever reason, or other goals come up or whatever, at least I don't feel like, if I just have 1 or 2 goals and then those 1 or 2 goals get crushed, that would be far more devastating for me than having 6 goals and 2 of them get crushed. At least I have 4 other ones. So that's kind of how I operate. And for those of y'all being like, well, then why did you call 2025 a failure? 90% of my goals failed. That's why. I would call that a failure for sure. I'm taking that, I'm learning from it, we're moving forward, and I will admit I am still pretty mad at myself about it, you know, pretty mad at the situation about it, but I channel that anger into forward momentum is what I do with it. You know, there is no use in sitting here being mad about it. I'm going to be mad about it moving forward and being like, okay, fine, watch me. That's the energy we're taking into 2026. And I know that I always have this is going to be my year of blah every year. I don't know yet what I'm going to assign for 2026 just because everything has just been so chaotic and the way it is. So I'm not sure what I'm going to assign to 2026. That is something that I'm going to reflect on tomorrow during New Year's Eve, and something that I'm also going to reflect on New Year's Day, and I'll see what I come up with. That is definitely TBA. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope that y'all feel just really confident and solid with your goals going into 2026. I hope that y'all had a better 2025 with your goals than I did, and I hope that y'all are just raring to go on your journey for the new year. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please be sure to like it if you enjoyed it, and if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.